Congress agrees on a COVID relief package. A new strain of the virus hits the UK. Random restaurant rules in NYC make no sense. And Dr. Birx did some traveling over Thanksgiving. Welcome, friends, to the Buck Sexton Show. Thank you so much for joining. Only a few days here before Christmas, but still much happening, much going on here at home in the States and even around the world. We'll dive into it together. Finally, Congress decided to do its job a little bit. We got a $900 billion COVID-19 relief package for the economy. This is what we're talking about now, right? This is the way we're supposed to view this, is that Congress rides in to save the day. And I got to sit here and tell you, why did it take so long? Why did we have to wait for months? Businesses are going under. People are suffering terribly, economically and otherwise from this. So what's the reason for this taking so long? Well, we know the reason. We know why this took so long. And it's, of course, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats were playing games here. They didn't want Donald Trump to have any assistance from the Congress doing what it should have done months ago. So she stood and blocked the whole thing. In fact, she's now agreed to less money than she was offered by Mnuchin over the summer by the Treasury Secretary. So Nancy was so smart in these negotiations, or perhaps I should say, so concerned with the interests of the American people, that she slowed this whole thing down under the premise that she wanted more. And now, because she believes Biden has this thing all sewn up and it's all done, now Pelosi is taking less money. Now Pelosi is taking less money. Well, why does that do anything that should make us think that the Congress is even a little bit competent? Or perhaps a better way of putting it, it's not really about competency at some level, isn't it? Because this is what they wanted. They'll tell us that, oh, they stopped us or the other side stymied us, but the Democrats in Congress wanted to slow this whole thing down. They wanted to make sure that people were suffering from maximum misery, that the economic pain was at an all-time possible high right before the election. Right? That's what they were hoping for. And now they're taking a substantially worse deal than what they were offered, because ultimately it wasn't about getting what's best for the American people. It was about doing what will benefit Democrats politically the most. Here's what we get in this deal. Remember, this is the government effectively giving your money back to you. So they've shut down businesses. They've shut down millions of people's livelihoods across the country. They've caused at least a temporary recession in many industries. People are bankrupt. They've lost small businesses they've worked on for decades. They are facing eviction. There's a huge eviction wave that's going to hit in January. People are going to be turned out of their homes. Well, now they're finally stepping in to say that they're going to try to prevent some of that. You got $600 direct payments to individuals making up to $75,000 a year. And you have payments phased out for higher incomes. So with $600 additional payments per dependent child. So this is kind of a means-tested situation. And with unemployment insurance, it revives supplemental federal pandemic unemployment benefits at $300 per week instead of the $600 per week that expired in July. Okay, so you got a little bit more unemployment coming in. $600 direct payments. It extends pandemic benefits for gig workers. This is all via the AP. Extends the maximum period for state-paid jobless benefits to 50 weeks total. Brings back the Paycheck Protection Program, which provides loans to businesses that meet certain criteria. So the PPP comes back. Why didn't the PPP come back a long time ago? Ask yourself that. Why has there been such a PPP delay? Oh, that's right. This was politics. This was Democrats making sure that there was increased suffering, that they had the ability to get, to get money to the American people, but they chose not to. They prefer to do something else. And that was to wait and to make sure that the political fortunes of the Democrats were the primary consideration in the Congress, or at least for the Democrats in the Congress. $25 billion for a new rental assistance program. So these are funds that are going to be distributed by state and local governments, meant to help people falling behind on rent and who face eviction. So that's what they've got going on with that. And then also surprise. This is another one. They have surprise medical billing, which protects consumers from bills after they receive out-of-network providers. This strikes me as this doesn't really have anything to do with the COVID relief package necessarily, or rather with COVID relief directly. But I do think that the stories you will hear about out-of-network benefits are stunning, meaning that people will all of a sudden think that they're in network, they're out of network. They'll get an anesthesiologist who will swing on by, and sure enough, the anesthesiologist will end up offering a bill for, $40,000 or something crazy for what was supposed to be an in-network procedure. So that I believe is ended by this surprise medical billing. So that's another thing added into this. Now, is this a terrible package? No. It is going to help. But why wasn't this done in August? Why wasn't this done when the PPP ran out the first time? And I've really been hammering this home because the media is covering for them. It's Pelosi and the Democrats. They didn't want to do what they could to help people because they were benefiting from the suffering of the American people. They were benefiting from people being in misery and losing money, being worried about losing their homes, because at that point, they just figured they'd vote for anyone other than who's purportedly in charge, President of the United States. And it's also a reminder during all of this, and this, as you know, has been something of a recurring theme here on the show, but it's a reminder of the fact that we aren't all in this together. That was never true. Yeah, we all have to deal with the pandemic and with the changes in the world because of it. But for some of us, for some people in the elites, for the ruling class, for elite media organizations, they haven't suffered during this. They haven't had to have massive layoffs. They've been considered essential workers. The politicians who have been telling many of you, not only can you not go out, see relatives, and enjoy even the most basic aspects of your day-to-day life, those same politicians are out there and they are telling you that you can't open your business, but they keep getting paycheck. They keep getting paid. So we're not all in this together. They were not suffering the way that you were. I mean, Nancy Pelosi doesn't need the money anyway. She should really give her whole salary to charity if she doesn't already. I don't know. Got a very wealthy husband. So they allowed people to be hurt during this while pretending to care about you. This is why people lose so much faith in Congress in general. This is why there's so much outrage at the ruling class in this country, as there should be, because they tell you that they're doing things to help you while they're making sure that you are hurting. They tell you that they are there to stand for your benefit. These are government mandates that cause these disruptions in the economy. Notice that you'll hear this argument frequently. Oh, it doesn't matter that they ordered all these closures. Nobody would go to all these businesses anyway. Oh, really? Why the closures then? Because that's bull, and we know it's bull. But they just throw these arguments out there trying to absolve those making these decisions of the responsibility for the utterly disastrous economic effects that have come from all of this. And what benefit have we had as a result of them doing all these things? Oh, you're not allowed to ask that question. California, a masking and lockdown and social distancing exemplar for all the rest of us. That's what we were told. They were the epitome of listening to Fauci and the science as a state. And now they're having the biggest surges they've ever had, the most cases, the most people in the ICU. California is getting hit in a way that is reminiscent, at least in terms of the percentages in the spike, of what New York was facing at the very beginning of the pandemic. Fortunately, we have better treatments now. The mortality rate is lower. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it's not as bad as it was in New York and New Jersey at the time. But just in terms of overall cases and people showing up to go to the hospitalization, it has been an enormous increase in a very short period of time. And we've been told that California over the summer didn't get hit that badly because they were doing such a good job with all these mitigation measures, as Fauci would call them. Why should we still believe that exactly? Show me. I just want to know where the evidence is. I can only ask questions about this now because declarative statements get me into all kinds of trouble. The social media censors come after me. You know, you can't say things like this policy did not work, did it? You can't say that. Not allowed. But I think you can ask the question, how exactly, show me how these policies are working. When you have a city like New York with a 1% of COVID cases are believed to come from restaurants, 1%. So they shut down all the restaurants because of that. Now, at some point, you see, what we've lost here is the ability to make decisions as a society where we know that we can't stop all of this, and trying to stop all of it becomes counterproductive. We no longer have balancing the risks that we're running by being out there living life with the risks of this virus. No, it's now just the people in charge have these diktats. They just say, this is how it will be, no matter how stupid, no matter how unlikely to succeed. And if you question that, they treat you like a virus truther, like you think it doesn't exist. Well, I've been wondering when people are going to realize that. In fact, I tweeted out a couple of days ago, just wait until, because right now we're in this phase where we think it's all going to get better after the vaccine is distributed. Now, not everyone believes that, but most people believe it's going to get a lot better after the vaccine. And I think the vaccine will help tremendously. But we also have to address this mentality, the mentality that there is no acceptable degree of risk from COVID-19, that there is no acceptable mitigation that we can do that isn't to the maximum, right? That we have to go, it's either exactly what they say or else you're reckless and you're harming people and you're putting grandma and grandpa at risk. I mean, let me tell you this as we continue to see how this plays out. I mentioned that all you have to do is wait, and I put this out on Twitter, wait until you start hearing about mutations and you realize that they're not going to give you back control over your life. How can they? There's mutations out there, man. And you got to get ahead of this thing before it really spreads. So you can't even wait to see what the numbers are. There's mutations. And now where are we? The United Kingdom is in the most extreme lockdown it has gone to yet, because they say they have found a 70% more infectious strain of COVID-19 in circulation. That is a mutation. Oh, that's right. It's all going to get better if we just listen to the experts, right? How many of you still believe that? Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.